Welcome to Geek on Film with your host, Robbie Holmes. Hey there, folks. Welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of Geek on Film, and I'm your host, Robbie Holmes. This week, we're going to talk about the Marvels as the main review, and we're going to run through a few films that I've watched other than that. So I'm excited to get right down to it. I'm going to kick us off initially with a movie called Animation Outlaws. It's a documentary, and according to our friends at IMDb, this Spike and Mike documentary is told through the stories of those they impacted, the people like Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, Nick Park, and many others. So I heard about this documentary recently, and then I found myself drawn to it immediately. I am a kid who grew up in New York in the 80s. I was born in 74. So in the 80s, I was trekking out to Manhattan and spending a lot of time in the Village. And I definitely saw one incarnation of the Spike and Mike festivals. I saw the Spike and Mike Sick and Twisted Animation Festival. So I was at the animation festival where Frog Baseball was playing. So I know this was a festival that traveled the US, but I happened to catch the year when Mike Judd released Frog Baseball and we were introduced to Beavis and Butthead. It is one of my favorite memories of my childhood in New York City to get to be a part of something like this, to feel like I was part of a community of people seeing something that was lurid and untoward, and that it was completely acceptable that I'd be there at like 15 years old or whenever it was. I really loved this documentary. It is super fun to have a whole bunch of talking heads talk about the impact of this festival, the people that were a part of it, and how it impacted all of their lives. So if you are a person who loves animation, you should probably watch this so you can get a chance to see where your animators and the people who created some of the most important animation in the world got their start, or at least where they felt like they were part of a community. This documentary really made it feel like every town that the Spike and Mike Festival went to, whether it was the Sick and Twisted or just the Animation Festival, that the circus had come to town. It is really super fun, and tons and tons of celebrities that you'll recognize, and tons of animators who will, if you're not an animation nerd, you will recognize the things they created. I couldn't give a higher praise to this as a documentary on many levels. But for me, it moved me and reminded me so much of why it was important to me as a child. This was my first film of the week. I think I rewatched. So I had read the Millennium trilogy series, and I saw all of the European versions of the films. But our friends over at the Blank Check podcast have been doing a David Fincher oeuvre review, and finally have forced me to revisit an awful lot of Fincher's films. So they were up to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I wasn't sure if I had ever seen it. I know I had seen and read the original books and those movies, and I wasn't sure if I needed to see this, but as someone who's become sort of a Fincher stan, I realized that this is a film I wanted to spend more time with. So I don't know how you all feel about The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. For me, this movie is very exacting and is a pretty incredible interpretation of the books, or the first book. I'm really impressed with Rooney Mara in this. She absolutely blows me away as Lisbeth Salander. She feels, for me, a lot like the character was written in the book. And it's unbelievable to see the transformation she went through for this film. And it's so funny because Daniel Craig as Mikhail Blomkvist doesn't seem to go through too much of a transformation. He doesn't even really talk with an accent. Whereas Rooney Mara is really laying into the accent. So I jumped right into this. Let's go back to the summary of this film. So it is journalist Mikhail Blomkvist is aided in his search for a woman who has been missing for 40 years by a young computer hacker named Lisbeth Salander. This movie is messed up. The book it is based on is messed up. Uh, Fincher does an amazing job of shooting this film and giving it a crazy amount of like stark diversity in the look. Like we have these beautiful wintry scenes that are taking place in the film. You have the very dramatic sort of Rooney Mara look as Lisbeth, which is it starts off with the mohawk from the book and slowly transforms a little bit. It's also sort of a who's who of actors who were in this film filling out all of the roles of the family of the woman who they lost 40 years ago. You get a crazy Christopher Plummer role. You get Stellan Skarsgård. You've got Robin Wright playing the co-editor of the magazine that Daniel Craig's character is co-writing or co-editing. And then it's really just an amazing take on this film. It feels very specifically Fincher. I mean, the choice of the might be my favorite Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor score. And just as a side note, the only way to get it is in a box set as LPs. And that box set I think was like $600 when it was originally released from the Knoll album, Knoll Record Company, which is the Nine Inch Nails owned company of Trent Reznor. And it came with a Razor Blade that was a USB drive that had the songs on it in the flock format, so uncompressed audio. Pretty crazy box set that if I can get my hands on, I would be very happy to listen to. So far, I've only been listening to it through Spotify, and I would really like to hear this coming out of my record player and speaker in vinyl. Yeah, if you haven't found a way or a reason to watch this movie at this point, it's 12 years old, and the original movies are probably 13 or 14 years old, and the books themselves are probably 15 years old. If you One warning is there's extremely brutal interactions sexually that happen in this movie, and there's no real shying away from it. I think that Fincher doesn't over sexualize a lot of those scenes, but in the very Fincher way of shooting something very matter of factly, it really is brutal. I am very surprised that I had never really, or I don't believe I have seen this before this. But going back and getting a chance to visit it because of the Blank Check podcast has absolutely really changed and given me more perspective on Fincher's amazing work. So it is currently on Stars, so you can watch it there. And let's see, I forgot to mention Animation Outlaws is available on Amazon Prime, Tubi, and Canopy. So if you have a library card, you can watch that movie. Another film that was a first time watch for me that I surprised I never saw. It's The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Stephen, a charismatic surgeon, is forced to make an unthinkable sacrifice after his life starts to fall apart when the behavior of a teenage boy he has taken under his wing turns sinister. This is a film by Yorgos Lanthimos. It is co-written by Artemis Philippou. This movie is truly messed up. We should go to the top of the list of the people who are in this film. You've got absolutely from the top down, Colin Farrell and Nicole Kidman playing a married couple of a couple of children who the son and daughter are moving. You got Rafi Cassidy playing Kim, and you have Sonny Suljic playing Bob. The other person that people talk about in reference to this film is Barry Keoghan plays Martin. There's a really nice surprise. I'm going to blow it for you right now. I'll give you 3, 2, 1. Martin's mother is played by Alicia Silverstone. It's a really nice moment in the film. She's not in it very often, but this movie has so many people in it for short periods of time that you recognize. It is the story of Martin's father who is passed, and Colin Farrell is the surgeon who was operating on his father when he passed away, and Barry Keoghan's Martin seems to have warned Stephen that there's something coming, and he'll have to make a choice. And you slowly see the children losing their ability to walk, and it continues to escalate from there. This is a very, very off-putting and strange movie. If you are a person who does not feel comfortable seeing surgical procedures, you probably aren't going to like this movie. It opens up with an absolutely realistic, because I think it is recorded in an actual live amphitheater for surgery, heart surgery that's taking place. And that is how the movie opens. It is a pretty insane film. The performances are really good and stilted and awkward. Colin Farrell is sort of playing an anti charismatic version of characters he often plays. Nicole Kidman in this is really good as his loving partner, and then eventually a colder partner. Barry Keoghan plays a weird child. He is unbelievable in this movie. He is sad and powerful and charismatic in his own special way. I really don't think I can say I like this film, but I'm glad I watched it. This movie is currently available on Netflix and Showtime. It's a time, let me tell you. I'm going to jump over to Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. So this is a movie that's been on my list to watch for a while. It is a short film. It's about 70 minutes long. And the synopsis from our friends over at IMDb is: a cafe owner discovers that the TV inside of his cafe suddenly shows images from the future, but only 2 minutes into the future. This is an extremely successful sci-fi film that is basically the cast of the film and a small extension of the people you meet initially being added into a very elaborately paced, because of the 2 minute factor, you're constantly on the move with these characters. It is so clever. It is so crisp, and it is so much fun. I don't know that it's the clearest understanding of what, for me, of what was actually happening, but you kind of had to just go with it. I would highly suggest watching this movie. You have 70 minutes to have your mind kind of blown by this low tech, futuristic sci fi film that you will probably be thinking about for an awfully long time. It's on Amazon Prime, and all of you, should watch it. It's directed by Junta Yumagachi, and it's written by Makoto Uedi. Do yourself a favor, watch this movie. It's really, really impressive what is pulled off for what I'm assuming does not cost a lot of money. Next up for me was Quiz Lady. I watched this with my wife. We were looking for something to watch. It's a new film. Here's the synopsis from our friends at IMDb. A game show obsessed woman and her estranged sister work together to help cover their mother's gambling debts. This is written by Jen D'Angelo, and it's directed by Jessica Yu. The cast of this film, I think the film is full of people you know. The main characters are played by Awkwafina and Sandra Oh. The game show host is Will Ferrell. And the nasty neighbor of Awkwafina's character, Anne, is Francine, played by Holland Taylor. She's fantastic. And the current champion on the game show is played by Jason Schwartzman in the perfect Jason Schwartzman role of Ron Heathcock. The movie is fun. I can't deny that. I will say it is not a good movie. I walked away feeling like surprised that something that had so much fun in its concept was executed so poorly. I felt like we didn't get a chance to really characters that were created, or I feel like this was a little underbaked as far as stories go, but it was really fun to get a chance to see um, the main characters really interact. I mean, Sandra Oh and Aquafina together is fun. Um, Aquafina and Jason Schwartzman together is fun. It's a lot of fun, but none of it really coalesces into a good movie. That's sad but true. I watched this on Hulu, and I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. So your mileage may vary. I did a rewatch because it landed on Apple TV of the film I watched at Middleburg called Fingernails. So now this movie is available for everyone to watch at Apple TV Plus. The IMDb summary for this film is Anna and Ryan have found true love, and it's proven to be by a controversial new technology. There's one problem. As Anna still isn't sure, then she takes a position at the Love Testing Institute and meets Amir. This film is charm incarnate, in my opinion. I said this in the Middleburg review when I got to this film. I don't know that there's a cast of actors that I was more excited to see the film of at Middleburg. You've got Jesse Buckley playing Anna, Rez Ahmed playing Amir, Jeremy Allen White playing Ryan, Luke Wilson is Duncan, who is the founder of the Love Institute testing facility. It's written and directed by Christos Nikou. The co-writers are Sam Steiner and Stravos Raptis. This movie has Anna in a relationship with Ryan, where they have both taken the test. The test is you remove a fingernail from each participant, and then you put the two fingernails into a machine, and that machine tells you whether the two of you are in love with one another, if only one of you is in love, or if neither of you are in love. So the only outcomes that you will see are 100%, 50%, and 0%. The 50% does not tell you who is the one that is in love. So Anna and Ryan have 100% and they have found love, according to the machine. Anna is a girl who seems to be in love with the concept of love and wants to be a part of the world. So she's a teacher and is changing jobs. And while she's going through the interviews, she interviews at the Love Institute, where Luke Wilson Duncan hires her, and she partners and shadows Amir, played by Rez Ahmed. There's instant chemistry between the two of them. Rez Ahmed is very standoffish or distant in his personality, especially when meeting Anna. Anna is immediately seemingly drawn towards Amir, and the movie goes from there. So you watch Jesse Buckley sort of be enamored with and interested in all aspects of the exercises that they're doing with couples and about how they're telling the story and about how much Amir is involved and getting involved in the lives of their patients. Amir is very distant from his patients. Anna is constantly looking for better ways to connect, for ways to augment the current test to make them more effective. It's a charming film. You should watch this film. It is on Apple TV Plus. On my second watch, I confirmed that I believe this is still a solid 4-star film for me, and I really love it. I think it is a film that everyone should watch. It seems very much in line with sort of the lineage of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind or other films of that type. Sort of the idea that love and companionship and who you can be with are sort of intertwined and can sometimes be dealt with via science. Go watch this on Apple TV Plus. So that's it for the week leading up to me seeing the main review. So we'll jump into the main review this week, and it's The Marvels. So, The Marvels, according to our friends at IMDb, is Carol Danvers gets her powers entangled with those of Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau, forcing them to work together to save the universe. It is written directed by Nia DaCosta. Co-writers are Megan McDonald and Alyssa Karasik. This movie features Brie Larson as Carol Danvers again, Teyona Paris as Monica Rambeau, a character that was originally introduced in WandaVision, Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, probably the heartbeat of this film and anything else she is going to be a part of. Nick Fury is returning, being played by Samuel L. Jackson. And then the big bad for this film is Zawi Ashton. She plays Dar Ben, who is a Kree that was on the planet when Carol Danvers went to Hala, the Kree homeworld, and destroyed the Supreme Intelligence. Now, we saw this in a flashback in this movie, but we did not see the destruction of the giant AI intelligence head at the end of Captain Marvel. I believe it was alluded to tell the Supreme Intelligence, I'm coming. So this movie is sort of set up in a very strange way. We don't get to see what happened except through flashback and why this exists. This movie was fun. I will 100% say, without any reservation, that I gave this movie 3.5 stars and I liked it. That does not mean this movie does not have complications and isn't and couldn't have been done in a more effective way. I am not going to press into what this movie should have been based on me wish casting what this film should have been. I will say what they presented us felt like it was a little bit disjointed and stitched back together. I think post Quantumania, post Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and post Guardians of the Galaxy, that they had some time to streamline this film, and they seem to have cut it down to a story where we spend most of the time with the three leads, especially Kamala Khan and her family. So her family is also returning from the Miss Marvel television show. You have Mohan Kapoor playing her father, Sagir Shaikh playing her brother, and then her mother is played by Zenobia Sharaf. Uh, they are unbelievable. If this movie gets more people to go back and watch Miss Marvel because they were suffering from some kind of MCU fatigue, this movie will have done its job. The sad part is I'm recording this after its opening weekend, and this movie is being shackled with a lot of negativity based on how much money it made, based on what it cost. But I think the other aspects of this are it is the first movie that has been directed by a black woman that opened to 100 plus $1 million internationally. And that's pretty amazing. I think there's so many aspects of this movie that are fun and firsts. The cast of this movie is extremely diverse and is really not done. It feels a stunt casting. It feels like this is the story that is being told. I really loved everything being done with Aman Vellani's Kamala Khan and her family. I think that storyline in and of itself carried over from Miss Marvel and made this movie feel more special. But getting a chance to see Kamala Khan have to interact with Carol Danvers, the real woman in the MCU, not the Captain Marvel sort of etched on her walls as a hero, and having to see the real choices that heroes and people who have been in situations like this have to make is a really amazing aspect of what I was not expecting in this movie. I feel like Teyona Paris as Monica Rambeau is the character who gets sort of short shrift the most. I think she is really good in this movie. She's really good in WandaVision. I think from my perspective, there is a bunch of really great story on the cutting room floor that involves her, and that sucks because she was great. She was like a really nice breakout for me in WandaVision. That show, I had an idea of where it was going, but I also could not have evaluated where it was going or known. and I was really impressed with what she did with a role that slowly became more and more important. And I feel like we've created a situation where she is second or third fiddle in a trio, which doesn't feel right. Even though Kamala Khan is like a charisma bomb, so is Monica Rambeau, especially when you spend any time with her in WandaVision, and I'm sure a longer version of this movie. This movie sets up a future. Well, we get two stingers at the end of this. If you haven't seen the movie and you don't want this spoiled, pretty please with sugar on top. Pause and or run away. Again, Robbie. I'm Robbie the Geek everywhere online. We're Geek on Film Com on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm on Letterboxd. Please follow and please interact. I would love to hear from you all. Okay, so we're jumping into some of the post credit, the end credit, and then the mid credit. So the end credit that happens pretty much as the film ends is you see Kamala Khan sitting in the dark, holding a one of the pads that all of the Saber members are using for intelligence stuff, and she is waiting in the home of Haley Seinfeld's Kate Bishop. And we walk into seeing Kate Bishop enter the house. Lucky the pizza dog is there. Of course, she tosses some pizza to Lucky, and Kamala basically says word for word what Nick Fury said to Tony Stark about the Avengers Initiative, and would like to convince her to come and join an initiative of young heroes. Which, if any of us have read, which most of us have, the comics of the Young Avengers, this is an interesting version of that team that I think is coming together. Haley Steinfeld has a really great retort, which is, I'm not a teenager, I'm 23, which is sort of almost a meta joke about the fact that the Young Avengers are all going to outgrow their Young Avengerness if they don't put this together soon. Charming, absolutely charming, very fun. I can't wait for it. I don't know if I want it to be a Marvel television show or a movie. I just want them to show up. I think I've heard some possible, rumors or rumor casting that while whatever is happening during Secret Wars or the Kang Dynasty, while everyone is off solving those problems who are the main heroes, that the Young Avengers will basically be holding it down on Earth. That would be really cool. I just want to see these characters get more screen time. I'm really excited about the possibility of the Young Avengers. We know that there was mention of Cassie Lang, Ant-Man's daughter. And I know there's been some rumor casting that Joe Locke, who is Charlie Spring in Heartstopper on Netflix, has been cast as, we believe, Wiccan, which is one of Wanda's boys. So that would make sense. And then we've already been introduced to Scar from She-Hulk. At the end of the show, we get the introduction of Hulk returning and bringing Scar with him. So that would make some sense because in the original incarnation, we had Hulkling, which was a super fun version of a Skrull, if I remember correctly. We got a lot of options here, but we got to do it soon because the actors who are playing these characters are all getting older. So pretty please, Marvel, get it together. Let's see what we can do about getting a Young Avengers television show or movie off the ground in 2024. It's important. These kids are getting too old to play these characters. So then there's the mid-credit stinger that happens where we see Monica Rambeau waking up in bed. Maria Rambeau seems to be sitting next to her. So we have Lashana Lynch and Maria Rambeau's alive. Monica begins to immediately gush in her direction about how sad she is, about how sorry she was, about all these things. And then you hear a voice of Kelsey Grammer off camera, and slowly a CGI version of Beast comes on and says, like, how's our patient doing? Charles wants to know. And then the doors in the background are X doors. So it's obviously an X-Men facility. And Maria Rambeau stands up and is wearing a costume that looks an awful lot like the binary costume from the Marvel Comics world. So this is probably a universe where Carol Danvers never got the powers to become Captain Marvel, and we see Maria Rambeau becoming binary as part of whatever team this is, most likely supporting or part of the X-Men. This is a crazy moment, in my opinion, because we see yet another of the Fox Marvel characters brought into the universe, but it's also not the exact same version. It's fully CG'd. It's complicated. I think people were excited, but also worried and still not sure how the X-Men are going to become part of this. Yeah, I'm confused as everyone else is, and I look forward to seeing how this unfolds. But right now, I am more concerned that the idea of going back to these characters that are played by older actors is just nostalgia until they decide to stop treading water and actually recast all these characters. That's it for me. I'm really happy to have gotten to see this movie in the theater and to see it on opening weekend. I think it was a blast. I don't think it was perfect by any means, but I had fun. And I think the reality here is give us more Kamala Khan. She's amazing, and her family. Thank you much for sticking with me through this, and I hope to see you around next time. I'm Robbie the Geek everywhere online, and John is John Hoche, JONHOCHE. We are Geek on Film Com on Twitter and Instagram, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Already ready to rock and roll with the next episode of The Ballad of Songbird and Stakes. So I'm excited to see that with my wife this weekend. Have a great week. Talk to you then. Bye. This has been a Geek on Film podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.